Hello everyone, welcome to Brain Blitz Audios. In this episode of NEET preparation, we'll be looking at previous year questions of medical entrance examinations in India. We'll be looking at biology questions, and the chapter that we'll be dealing with is the 5th chapter in the grade 12 syllabus of CBSE. The name of the chapter is Principles of Inheritance and Variation. Let's look at our first question. The formation of multivalence at meiosis in diploid organism is due to A. Monosomy, B. Deletion, C. Inversion, and D. Reciprocal translocation. So the key to this question is understanding what are multivalence. Multivalence are association of more than 2 chromosomes. So let's look at each of our options. So the formation of multivalence are the association of more than 2 chromosomes. Let's look at each of our options. Option A, monosomy. What is monosomy? It is the loss of chromosomes. So that leads to lesser number. While multivalence ensure that there are more chromosomes. So option A is incorrect. What about option B, deletion? This is pretty obvious. It is when genes or codons are deleted. So again, that leads to mutation, etc. But that does not lead to increase in the number of chromosomes. So option B is incorrect. What about option C, inversion? Inversion is rotating the chromosome, any particular chromosome, by 180 degrees. So option C is downright incorrect. The right answer is option D, reciprocal translocation. So over here, to non-homologous chromosomes, so these are non-identical chromosomes, what they do is they exchange segments which ensures duplication. So therefore, there is an increase in the number of chromosomes. So option D, reciprocal translocation, is right. Let's look at our next question. If a homozygous tall plant is crossed with a homozygous dwarf plant, the offsprings will be A, all tall plants, B, all dwarf plants, C, half tall plants, and D, half dwarf plants. This question is based on Mendelian genetics. So the genetics that was initially brought forth by Gregor Mendel. So when we're taking a monohybrid cross in Mendelian genetics, so we have a homozygous tall plant represented by capital T, crossed with a homozygous dwarf plant, which is represented as small t. So this produces a tall gamete. This produces a dwarf gamete. So both of these alleles are present in different gametes. And on crossing, you get TT. Over here, tall is dominant. And since it's Mendelian genetics, they exhibit complete dominance. So even though there is one recessive allele, the dominant allele is going to be expressed. So when we look at each of our options, option A, which is all tall plants, is correct. Option B is all dwarf plants. Now this is incorrect, but because for the condition of all dwarf plants, both alleles have to be recessive, like small t, and half tall and half dwarf plants do not exist because of complete dominance. So there is nothing of the sort of half tall or half dwarf plants when we use Mendelian genetics. So our right answer is option A, all tall plants. So if you cross a homozygous tall plant with a homozygous dwarf plant, you're going to get a hybrid which is tall. Now let's look at our next question. XO chromosomal abnormality in humans causes A. Turner syndrome, B. Down syndrome, C. Patau syndrome, and D. Klinefelter syndrome. Now, this occurs in women, exochromosomal abnormality. So over here, there's an absence of X chromosome. Let's look at each of these syndromes one by one. Option D, Klinefelter's syndrome. In Klinefelter syndrome, we have an extra X chromosome in males. So it'll be of the form XXY instead of XO. So option D is incorrect. What about Patau syndrome? Patau syndrome is the trisomy of chromosome 13. So generally, there are two identical pairs of chromosomes in humans, except for the X and Y chromosomes. So in Patau syndrome, instead of two, there are 3 chromosome 13s. That is why it's known as trisomy of chromosome 13. And that is an extra instead of reduction. Option C is incorrect. What about option B, Down syndrome? Down syndrome is also a trisomy, this time of chromosome number 21, which again is extra. So option B is also incorrect. Therefore, our right answer is option A, Turner syndrome. Turner syndrome affects females with underdeveloped characters due to the XO chromosomal abnormality. Now, to our next question. Polygenic genes show A, similar genotype, B, different phenotype, C, different karyotype, and D, different genotype. Let's look at each of our options. Option A, similar genotype. This is incorrect because similar genotype occurs in monogenic inheritance. Well, we're discussing polygenic inheritance, where more than one gene determines a character. What about option C, different karyotypes? Now, this does not occur because in crossing, due to meiosis, karyotype stays same, whether that's monogenic or polygenic genes. Now, what about option D, different genotype? In crossing, this shows the same genotype, which means that the genetic makeup of polygenic genes will still stay the same. Therefore, option D is incorrect. The right answer is option B, different phenotype. An example of this is the crossing of wheat to form hybrids. Now, this has the same genotype, but the phenotype changes. Our next question. Which disease has XXY chromosome constitution? A. Down syndrome, B. Turner syndrome, C. Klinefelter syndrome, and D. Okazaki syndrome. Down syndrome is incorrect. Option A is incorrect because this is trisomy of chromosome 21, while the disease here is referring to the sex chromosomes, the X and the Y. There is an abnormality in that, while Down syndrome is showing trisomy of an autosome, chromosome 21. What about B, Turner syndrome? That is also incorrect because Turner syndrome has the genetic makeup XO. So here there is a loss of X chromosomes. While our disease here has XXY, there is an addition of an XY chromosome, X chromosome. And Turner syndrome affects females, while our target disease affects males. What about option D, Okazaki syndrome? This is also incorrect. The term Okazaki is referring to Okazaki. It's most commonly used in Okazaki fragments. There has been no syndrome named as Okazaki syndrome. So option D is incorrect. The right answer is option C, Klinefelter syndrome. Klinefelter syndrome affects males, and it has the XXY chromosome constitution, basically an extra X chromosome. Our next question. Bar body in mammals represents A, one of the two X chromosomes in somatic cells of females, B, all heterochromatin of male and female cells, C, Y chromosomes of male, and D, all heterochromatin of female cells. What is bar body? Now, bar body is inactive X chromosomes found in somatic cells. Now, if we check the definition of bar body with each of our options, let's look at each of our options. So option D, all heterochromatin of female cells. This is incorrect because non-somatic X chromosomes have no bar body. They don't form bar bodies. So option D is incorrect. What about option C, Y chromosomes of male? This is incorrect. Bar bodies are inactive X chromosomes. A male has only one X chromosome and a Y chromosome as well. So option C is incorrect. So bar body is not representing Y, it represents X chromosomes. What about option B? All heterochromatin of male and female cells. Again, we see that males have only one X chromosomes, while females have two X. So in order for a healthy male, you should have at least one X chromosome that is active. So therefore, option B is incorrect. All heterochromatin of male and female cells do not represent a bar body. Therefore, the right answer is option A, one of the two X chromosomes in somatic cells of females. So a bar body represents one of the two somatic cells because females have XX. So one of these is inactive, and that is known as a bar body. Moving on. Discontinuous variations are A. Essential features, B. Acquired characters, C. Non-essential changes, and D. Mutations. Let's look at each of our options. A. Essential features. Now, discontinuous variations are not necessarily essential features. Essential features are basically non-variant part of genes. So the part that has undergone no variation is actually pretty important for the survival of an organism. Hence the rise of diseases. What about option B? Acquired characters. Now these are not variations genetically. These are acquired due to our lifestyle and other characters. So therefore option B is incorrect. What about option C? Non-essential changes. The prime reason why sexual reproduction is more favored is because it induces variation. And therefore, that is essential. Therefore, option C is incorrect. The right answer is option D. Discontinuous variations are known as mutations. These are rapid and discontinuous. And they cause sudden changes to organisms. Next question. Mirabilis jalapa shows A. Codominance, B. Incomplete dominance, C. Dominance, and D. Complementary genes. Now, the Mirabilis jalapa is more commonly known as the 4 o'clock plant. And this plant has red, which is dominant, and white, which is recessive, flowers. And their F1 generation possesses pink flowers. So let's look at each of our options now. Option A, codominance. Codominance is incorrect. In codominance, both characters are expressed. So if the 4 o'clock plant was codominant, then both red and white flowers will be shown in F1 generation. But however, they have pink flowers. So option A is incorrect. What about option C, dominance? If one gene is dominant, it is expressed. And since in the 4 o'clock plant it's red, that means only red flowers for F1 generation. But however, we see that they have pink flowers. So option C is also incorrect. What about complementary genes? Complementary genes are found in dictating color of mice. And they have no role in the color of the 4 o'clock plant. So option D is incorrect. The right answer is option B, incomplete dominance. We know that red is dominant, but still we find pink flowers because red is not completely dominant over white. So a mixture of both red and white colors occur, leading to pink flowers in the 4 o'clock plant. Our next question. Frameshift mutation occurs when A, a base is added, B, a base is deleted, C, a base is added or deleted, and D, none of the above. Base refers to the nitrogenous bases in DNA. So yes, what is a frameshift mutation? This is the alteration of the frame of a DNA molecule. And that happens when there is addition or deletion of bases. So when we add more bases, we alter the frame, and the same thing happens when we delete some of the essential bases. So let's look at option A. Option A, base is added. So it says that only when base is added, we say that it's a frameshift mutation, which is incorrect because both addition and deletion can occur. The same excuse applies for option B. So here, in both of these, only one is shown. Only one of the two events are shown. So both options are incorrect. Therefore, the right answer would be option C. Base is added or deleted. So addition and deletion of bases result in frameshift mutation. And since option C is correct, we can conclude certainly that option D, none of the above, is incorrect. Let's look at our next question. Pure line breed refers to A, homozygosity, B, heterozygosity, C, linkage, D, both, B, and C. Now, pure lines involves one type of genotype propagated through self-pollination for many generations. This is how pure lines are formed. Let's look at each of our options. Option B, heterozygosity. Heterozygosity, let's take the example of a tall and a dwarf plant. These form hybrids, such as TT. And so therefore, hybrids are not pure lines. So option B is incorrect. What about option C, linkage? Linkage refers to genes inherited together in one chromosome. So they can cause both hybrids, if it's already heterozygous, and pure lines. So option C is also incorrect. The term pure line breed does not refer to the linkage of the genes. And since B and C are incorrect, therefore option D, both B and C, would also be incorrect. Right answer is option A, homozygosity. So pure lines can either be completely tall, capital T, or they can be completely dwarf, small t. And homozygosity refers to the one type of genotype which is propagated through self-pollination for many generations. So pure line breeds exhibit homozygosity, and they refer to homozygosity of the alleles. Now the next question. If a homozygous red-flowered plant is crossed with a homozygous white-flowered plant, the offsprings would be A, all red-flowered, B, half red-flowered, C, half white-flowered, and D, all white-flowered. So in questions, usually dominant trait is mentioned first. So therefore, we can safely assume that red is dominant. So let's represent it with capital R. And white is recessive. Let's represent it with small r. So they have a homozygous red flowered plant. So capital R, crossed with a homozygous white flowered plant. So small r, small r. Now here it says homozygous, so it has to be a pure line. So either purely red or purely white. Now, this basically is Mendelian genetics. So these are the parents. And so over here, they form a red allele. And here they form a white allele. And on crossing, you get a hybrid, which according to the law of dominance has dominant trait. So let's look at each of our options. Option D is incorrect. White is recessive. And options B and C are incorrect because these exhibit incomplete dominance. While our question had a situation of Mendelian genetics which showed complete dominance. So options B, C are incorrect. The right answer is option A, all red flowered. Since the dominant trait is expressed and we know that our dominant trait is red, therefore, all of the flowers are red. Let's look at this question. Genes of which of the following is present exclusively on the X chromosome in humans? A, baldness, B, red-green color blindness, C, facial hair or mustaches in males, and D, night blindness. Let's look at each of our options one by one. Night blindness is caused by the deficiency of vitamin A. This is not a genetic disease, so option D is incorrect. Option C, facial hair or mustaches in males are a result of hormonal changes due to puberty. So therefore, option C is also incorrect. Option C, it's not even a disease. What about option A, baldness? Baldness depends on a variety of factors, and therefore, the term exclusive is not applied here. So option A is incorrect. Baldness has a variety of factors. The right answer is option B, red-green color blindness, which is an example of point shift mutation, which affects the X chromosome. Now let's look at our next question. Given below is a pedigree chart of a family with 5 children. It shows the inheritance of attached earlobes as opposed to the free ones. The squares represent the male individuals and the circles the females. Which one of the following conclusions drawn is correct? Let's go to the next page. So we have our diagram here. And it said that the whites are free earlobes and the blacks are the attached earlobes. So let's look at all of the 4 conclusions. The parents are homozygous recessive is option A. Option B, the trait is Y-linked. Option C, the parents are homozygous dominant. And option D, the parents are heterozygous. Now, according to convention, free earlobes are dominant because they are present in most human beings, while some have attached earlobes. So attached is recessive. Okay. So we have both the parents having free earlobes, and 3 of the kids have free earlobes, but 2 of them have attached earlobes. So they have heterozygous children. This is possible only when the parents are heterozygous. Let's look at each of our options. Option A, the parents are homozygous recessive. Now, the recessive trait is attached earlobes, but both parents have free earlobes. So option A is incorrect. Option B, the trait is Y-linked. Now, if the trait is Y-linked, only sons get the disease. And so according to the question, the squares are the males and the circles the females. So if you look at it, there is 1 female with an attached earlobe, and there are 2 females with free earlobes. So the claim that the trait is Y-linked is also incorrect because both females are also experiencing the same problems or the same mutations or variations. What about option C? The parents are homozygous dominant. Now, dominant means they have free earlobes, and that is correct. But if you notice our diagram, both parents are having dominant traits, but some of their children have the recessive trait. This is only possible when parents are heterozygous. So the parents here are heterozygous and not homozygous. So option C is incorrect. The right answer is option D. The parents are heterozygous. And that's why they have some of their children having free earlobes, which is dominant, and the others having recessive, which is attached. Next question. Given below is a representation of a kind of chromosomal mutation. What is the kind of mutation represented? We have A, deletion, B, duplication, C, inversion, and D, reciprocal translocation. Let's look at each of our options one by one. But before that, we should know that when we look at this diagram, we see that the B, C, and D are inverted by 180 degrees. Option A, deletion. Here, genes or codons are deleted from chromosomes. So option A is incorrect. What about option B, duplication? Now, duplication refers to the increase in number of chromosomes. But that's not what happens here. If we count each of our chromosomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we look at the diagram below, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So both of them have the same number. So duplication does not take place. Option B is incorrect. What about option D, reciprocal translocation? Again, this also leads to duplication, which does not occur in this situation. So option D is incorrect. Reciprocal translocation is when 2 non-homologous chromosomes exchange segments, and that does not occur as well. The right answer is option C, inversion. So here the part of the chromosomes B, C, D is inverted by 180 degrees. See, so this is B, C, D. When inverted, you get B, B, C, D. So there you have it. There's ample evidence of and inversion by 180 degrees. So inversion, option C, is the right mutation represented. Next question. How many different types of gametes can be formed by the F1 progeny, resulting from the following cross TT cross RR? So let's write our cross here, TT cross RR. So if you look at this, we find 4 gametes, a capital T, a small t, a capital R, and a small r. So these are the individual alleles present here. Now, gamete formation follows the law of independent assortment. So we can have a gamete with capital T and capital R. We could also have one with small t and small r. We can also have capital T and small r forming another gamete, and we can also form small t capital R. So basically there are 4 types of gametes that are formed here. So option B, which is 8, is incorrect, as that is not the scenario. Option C is 27, that is also not the scenario. And option D is 64. That is also not the scenario, because on crossing these two, we find that we can form 4 separate gametes. So the right answer is option A, 4. Next question. Grain color in wheat is determined by 3 pairs of polygene following the cross capital A, capital A, capital B, capital B, capital C, which is the dark color, and small a, small a, small a, small b, small b, small b, and small b, small c, which gives us the light color in F2 generation. What proportion of the progeny is likely to resemble either parent? So grain color is an example of polygenic inheritance. And so in polygenic inheritance, there are various types of phenotypes and genotypes. So in grain color of wheat, there are 7 phenotypes, and their ratio is 1:6:15:20:15:6:1. These represent various shades of grain color, but we don't need to go through all of these. What we need to find out is what proportion of the progeny is likely to resemble either parent. So in F2 generation, one of them is dark, which is dominant parent, resembling the dominant parent, and one is extremely light, which resembles the recessive parent. So 2 of these resemble their parents, and when you add the number of terms here, you get 64. So 2 out of 64 of the F2 generation has the resemblance to their parents. And we have to find 2/64 in percentages. So 2/64, since it's not equal to half, we can dismiss option A. It's not equal to 1/3, so we can dismiss option C. But what about the statement less than 5%? For that, we need to convert 2/64 into a percentage. So 2/64 times 100. 2 goes into 64 32 times. So we have 100/32. That translates to 50/16. And that is 25/8. And so on division, let's do it here. So 25 by 8. 8 threes are 24. So that's 1. And then we put a point, and then we add a 10. So 1. 8 ones are 8. And then there's a 2. Go to the next term, we get a 0 here. So 8 twos are 16. That is 4. So we get 3.12, and it goes on. So let's approximate it to 3.12%. So this is the percentage of the progeny which resembles either parent. And as you can see, that is less than 5%. So option B is right. And since option B is right, option D automatically qualifies to be the wrong answer. Let's look at our final question. Primary source of allelic variation is A, independent assortment, B, recombination, C, mutation, and D, polyploidy. Independent assortment is the variation in phenotype and genotype, which is a result of combination of alleles. Recombination is also variation in phenotypes and genotypes by combining genes in one chromosome. So in both of these cases, the allele that is, say, tall has no variation. It stays the same. So options A and B are incorrect. Polyploidy refers to the phenomena of having more than 2 sets of chromosomes, which is a chromosomal disorder. Again, having no variation in alleles. So option D is also incorrect. The right answer is option C, mutation. So these rapid variations, known as mutations, they caused the tall allele to have a mutated and recessive form known as the dwarf. So the primary source of allelic variation is mutation. So that's all, folks, about this chapter, Principles of Inheritance and Variation. We hope that you enjoyed this video. For more of our useful and interesting content, please subscribe to our channel, Brain Blitz Audios. We'll be back with more cool and interesting information regarding mind maps, stories, learner words, NEET preparation, etc. Until then, take care, stay safe, ta-ta for now.